it's an interesting thing for Google, of all people. What have they got to do with insurance? And the answer is zero. However, the barrier to insurance is an interesting observation. And the barriers to insurance have always been dollars. I mean, it was started with Lloyd's of London in a cafe in London, Lloyd's Cafe in London. That's where insurance started. All the boat owners were sitting around and they lost another boat at sea. This is whatever, 200-300 years ago. And they all just said to each other, what if we all put in some money each month and we're only losing a boat every 6 months, and that'll pay for the next boat. And everyone said it's a great idea. That's how insurance started. It hasn't really changed. There's been no change. And the barriers to getting into insurance are interesting because they are three things. Money is a big barrier. You need billions of dollars to really shake the insurance industry up. No problem for Google. How much do you want? They'll just write the check. Second barrier is you need a big database because in one way or another, the insurance industry has big databases. No problem for Google. They've got the biggest database in the world. And you also need analytics around that data. Again, no problem for Google. Best analytics. They know where we are 24 hours a day. They're talking about insurance being related to whether you're home or not because they'll know whether you're home because of your phone, because of your online, where you are online. They'll know. So what they can do is actually charge you at the end of the month. And if they know you're away for 2 weeks, they'll lower your premium. That's the sort of flash Harry stuff that these people can do. So the barriers are all gone for them, yeah? The insurance industry, you have to draw a slight parallel. You're asking me should we be worried about it? You have to draw a parallel. The insurance industry has been, they are computer dinosaurs. Remind you of anyone? They are, basically it's a bunch of small cottage industries. Remind you of anyone? And their CRMs, when you dig deep down into the insurance industry, the CRMs have let them down, just as ours have. The CRMs in real estate have let us down. They have not evolved. They are just Rolodexes. And we are really unable to do much more than we used to be able to do 10 years ago. So we are behind in that whole thing. Yeah. So we should really be worried about what's going on. All Google has to do is to break down the big question is, can an online company like Google break through the trust that is there that I have in a person? And they say yes they can. They say yes they can. It was interesting, in London the insurance industry invited Google to come and speak about the future of technology and the future of Google and the future of the insurance industry. And the dude stood up and said, I don't see you've got one. He said, we're taking it over. Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thinking that is behind this. Now, apply that to real estate. They know where all the listings are. They know all this stuff. They've got it. They've got Google Planner. They've got it all sus. They just need to fix that last bit. I think that one of the other challenges I have for this industry is I've been saying for 10 years, why can't I list my house online without you? Why can't I just put it online without you? Why can't I go to your website and list my house online without talking to anyone? And you can't do it. It's ridiculous. Our websites have all got to change. They're all geared around buyers and tenants. I can't just go in and decide that I want to list with you, start typing, fill out the boxes, what's your address, what's the address of the house you want to sell, do you want to go auction or not, watch these videos on auction, or whether you should auction or not. I can't do that, and then push submit at the bottom. We are so far behind, it's appalling. So yeah, we should be thinking about it big time. There's a wonderful saying around paradigms that I love. When there is a major paradigm shift, everyone goes back to zero. Yeah, and of course there's major paradigm shifts going on at the moment about every 6 months. And if you look at the watch industry, the paradigm shift that absolutely smashed the Swiss 95% market share that they had. A young fellow in the back out in the factory came to his boss and said, look, I've invented a system whereby a watch will wind itself. Yeah. And the guy said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just go back to work. However, they played with it, and they took it the following year to a watch fair in America. And they put it on the bench, and a guy came along and said, "What is this?" And they said, "Oh, it's a bit quirky. It's something that will actually wind your watch for you." And the guy said, "Well, I'll buy the rights to it." And they said, "That's wonderful. Yeah, we were looking for a use for it." The guy's name was Mr. Seiko. Yeah. The Swiss watch industry lost 90% of its market share over the next 10 years. 400,000 to 500,000 jobs were lost because they didn't pay attention to the changes that were going on. We need to get our head out of our asses and look back in on what is going on here, because there are paradigm shifts happening every 5 minutes. Now, how do we stay relevant in all this? The fact is that people are not going to pay for information anymore. The moratorium we thought we had on information, because we were the only ones that knew what the house down the road sold for, it's all gone. It's a major, major paradigm shift. Nobody's going to pay for that, but they will pay for the intelligent interpretation of information. And if you take the parallel for Flight Centre, we can all book online now. We can all just go straight online and book whatever flights we want all around the world. But Flight Centre flourishes because in the end, a lot of people look at it and it's almost overwhelming. Where do I go? Which flights? I know they're all online, but which one's the best one? And I trust the person telling me which is the best one. That's why Flight Centre is still there, because they've figured out the bit that makes them relevant. So the bit that makes them relevant is availability, because there's one on every corner. I can just walk in. I trust the name, and it's person to person. So business will be done in the future 3 ways. The first way is it'll be done face to face. The second way is some technology, a bit of online, but I want help. And the third way will be total technology. Now, Google or whoever wants to come and take the technology can have it. They won't get it all. There'll still be people at this stage, it may change in 20 or 30 years, who want to work part face-to-face or fully face-to-face. So our relevance becomes person to person, soul to soul. That's where we've got to go, and that's the bit we've got to master.